Putin plans to call up more than 150,000 conscripts this spring, the highest number since 2016, when 155,000 were drafted into the Russian army. A decree from Putin is circulating online, according to which this year the Russian army will recruit such a number of the new conscripts. This will be achieved by increasing the conscription age, with men aged 18 to 30 now being eligible for conscription. It is worth noting that there have been no official confirmation made by Russian officials to confirm this decree's authenticity. However, it seems logical, as the creation of two general-purpose armies and 30 units, as recently reported by the Russian Defense Minister Shoigu, will require someone to staff them. Hey, my name is Alex, and this is a quick update on the Russian-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. Meanwhile, Russia carried out another missile drone attack on Ukraine tonight. On the night of March 31, 2024, Russia launched an attack with 14 cruise missiles X-101 and X-555 from Tu-95 strategic bombarders, launch area Saratov region, Russia, 11 Shahid-type UAVs, launch area Primorsko-Akhtarsk, Russia and Crimea, Iskander-M ballistic missile, Crimea, and guided aviation missile X-59 near Zaporizhia region. According to report from Ukrainian official sources, 18 air targets were destroyed, 9 cruise missile and 9 Shad drones. Approximate route of missile and UAVs during today's morning attack. And once again, the main target were energy facilities in Ukraine, with a focus on the western part of the country this time, Lviv region. Also, Russian forces struck the Kharkiv region overnight. A 19-year-old guy was killed in the village of Borovay, and another person was hospitalized. Also, there have been reports of strikes on the city of Kharkiv itself. In Kharkiv, the Russians usually target with missiles from the S-300 air defense system, as this city close to the border with Russia, and there is no need to use more sophisticated missiles. There are plenty of missiles available to the Russians for the older S-300 systems. Alternatively, they use drones like the Shad type. During this night strike, the Russians also experienced some incidents. For instance, over the Saratov region, a Russian air defense system accidentally shot down its own X-101 missile at night. Later, residents of the Saratov region found fragments of this missile. In recent months, Russian missiles and bombs have been increasingly falling on the territory of Russia itself. It is important to note that since Ukraine managed to reclassify a significant number of ships from the Russian Black Sea Fleet as submarines, effectively sunken them, in simpler terms, the Russians have practically ceased using their ships in the Black Sea for launching Caliber missiles recently. But, according to the head of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine, Kirill Budanov, the Russian fleet has been accumulating cruise missile caliber, which they can use for strikes against Ukraine over a significant period of time, and they are absolutely ready for use now. According to him, Russia has previously approved the decision to use the cruise missile X-101 instead of calibers, because they are more effective. However, in the near future, we may see calibers again, because the number of X-101 has significantly decreased. Russia fears new strikes against its Black Sea Fleet, base and ports, and takes attempts to defend itself. Among other things, after the strike on Sevastopol, they are trying to protect the ports in Novosibirsk with barges. In satellite images, you can notice barges partially blocking the entrance to the port of Novorossiysk from potential attack by surface drones. I remind you that after successful strikes on the port of Sevastopol, Novorossiysk became critically important for the basing of ships. The most valuable assets of the Russian Black Sea Fleet have been withdrawn from Crimea. Only one remains from the missile carrier. In turn, the spokesman for the Ukrainian Navy, Dmytro Pleitenchuk, reported that most combat units, if we talk about carriers of cruise missile, have practically all been relocated from Crimea. In Crimea, they left the ships that are not valuable, or those that have no place in Novorossiysk. Of course, there remains a certain composition of ships there, but the most valuable assets have all been withdrawn. Understanding that Ukraine will try to destroy the Crimean Bridge at the first opportunity, Russia has been building a railroad at an accelerated pace for over a year to connect with the southern occupied territories. The process is almost complete and may present a serious problem for Ukraine. Ukraine is trying in every possible way to prevent construction. Among the latest actions, the Ukraine kamikaze drone damaging a gravel production facility. And now let's check on the front. On the Kupiansk, Limansk, Severny and Chasov Yar direction, there is no significant changes. The high pace of combat operations continues. In the video, the unit's steel border is engaging enemy armored vehicles in this direction. And regarding the situation in Klishchiivka on this same direction, the post from the pro-Russian chat. Not now, it's quiet for now. We are trying to attack in small groups, but the Ukrainian defense is well positioned and they have many drones. Avdiivka direction. Fighting continues along Central and Sadova Street in Berdychiv. West of Tonenki, Russian forces continue assault actions towards Yasnobrodivka. The Ukrainian armed forces inflicted fire damage on the enemy. I will touch on Tonenki later, there are interesting moments there. On the Kurakhova direction, fighters of the 79th Air Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian armed forces repelled an attack southwest of Novomikhailivka, destroying an enemy MTLB and infantry. Russians, in turn, actively used guided aviation bombs here. A little lower on the map, in the direction of Ugledar, the Russians tested a machine gun robot. The result is unknown, but something tells me that there will be a little benefit from this miracle technology in actual combat. On the other directions, there are no significant changes noted. The high pace of combat operations continues. For example, in Robotyne, in the Zaporizhia direction, the guys reported a successful counter-battery fight for the fourth day in a row. Since early morning, the artillery in the Robotyne area has been working on Russia rear positions, resulting in another destroyed howitzer 20 kilometers from the front line. In the past 4 days, our artillery has destroyed 4 Russian howitzers, reported a serviceman of the armed forces of Ukraine. But not everything is so simple regarding the counter-battery fight, because the Russians are also destroying our equipment. Unfortunately, Russians detected and destroyed a Ukrainian 40V-6M fire control radar and at least one S-300P, more likely 204, near Konstantinivka, Kharkiv region. Regarding today's attack by the Russians near Tonenki, the Russians attacked here with a record number of equipment, 36 tanks, including the HNT-55, and 12 BMPs. 12 tanks and 8 BMPs were destroyed here. Pure madness. The Russians deployed the 6th Tank Regiment of the 19th Tank Division into the battle. The thing is, according to the elements of doctrine, such divisions are supposed to exploit success after mechanized units manage to break through enemy positions. But there was no breakthrough before the attack. Therefore, the fighters of the 25th Brigade gave the Russians a real beating here. A column of 36 tanks, in my opinion, is not the last one, believes a soldier of the armed forces of Ukraine familiar with the situation. As I mentioned, during the battles for Orlivka and Tonenki, the enemy hardly used any equipment, only infantry during the assault on villages, occasionally introducing BMPs or a tank to cover assault groups. During this time, they accumulated armored vehicles on the Avdiivka direction for the use of armored fists. So today they tried to make breakthrough in our position openly, intending to develop success on a larger scale afterward. But it turned out as always. Obviously, they will continue trying to do so. The commander of the 2nd Assault Battalion of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, Dmitro Kukharchuk, shares a similar opinion. In this direction, the enemy is concentrating not just 1 or 2 brigades, but an army consisting of several divisions. The enemy's advance has now been stabilized, but this does not mean that it has been completely stopped. And in the area of the village of Krinka, where Ukraine maintains a small foothold on the left bank of the Dnipro River, Ukrainian drones once again disturbed the Russian soldiers. Among other things, a significant stockpile of Russian ammunition was discovered and destroyed. The Russians also attempted to install their stationary observation device Murumpi on the second floor of the private house. The device was discovered and neutralized. The method of neutralization is quite interesting, as it was not a typical kamikaze drone strike, but rather a projectile that burns through the ceiling and then the device itself. Interesting innovations are being recorded day by day. Furthermore, lately, the Russians in this area have been complaining about increasing activity of strike and FPV drones from the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as advanced EW systems, which have reduced the effectiveness of Russian drones to 20–30%. Another notable event on the front is the story of how a week ago the enemy air defense system shot down our Leleka drone, as the guys promised to find and destroy it. They tracked it down and destroyed it. This was a joint effort of the artillery of the 44th Brigade and the UAV company of the 139th Brigade. Direct hit on the first shot. As usual, the Russians were saturating the area with guided aviation bombs. Thankfully, in most cases they missed the target. However, some still hit, as the Russians dropped them without restraint. Overall, summary of territory lost gained in the 13th week of 2024. Ukraine regained control of 0.5 square kilometers. Lost control, gray zone, 10.9 square kilometers. Russian seized 4.2 square kilometers. Lost control, 0.05 square kilometers. Also, today is the Liberation Day of Bucha. After 33 days of occupation, the whole world learned about the city where the Russians created a real hell on earth. Over 500 civilians were killed, including 12 children. Meanwhile, the Minister of Armed Forces of France, Sébastien Lecornu, stated in an interview with La Tribune that France plans to transfer a significant number of old wheeled armored personnel carriers VAB 4x4 to Ukraine, taken out of service by the French army due to the replacement with the new armored vehicles Griffon. The age of the VABs can reach 40 years, but these old vehicles are still operational, explained the minister. Also today, in his Easter message, the Pope called for total exchange of prisoners between Ukraine and Russia, all for all. Ukraine officials have repeatedly stated their readiness to conduct a prisoner exchange on the principle of all for all. But Russia is not eager to return its people. And that wraps up today's episode. If you found this information helpful or insightful, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.